Okay, so to get that kind of sagging edge, we need to come back, well, not that far up, come here and find that bound. Let me save this. Don't think I've saved this for a bit. So if you remember right at the start, we made this bounds null, right? Because we want that gives us the edge, right? So we can use that. So, you know, we could kind of do an attribute transfer or something like that, but I want to use this bounding volume or bounding geometry. We could use either. But, you know, we don't want everything inside this because it's kind of everything outside. So what I'll do is just use VDBs. So we'll do VDB from polygons, which is that. Okay, and because of the scale, push this up. The defaults will be a bit small. And then I'm going to do another one here. We could just use the same one actually, but it doesn't matter. And I'm going to VDB reshape that. Okay. And changes to a road, so it's smaller. And eroded quite a bit, 5. So this is smaller than that one, basically. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of do like a boolean of these, right? So VDB combine for that. Plug that in there and that in there, and then we use the SDF difference, which will kind of, we won't see anything, but that will cut this from this, right? Okay. And now I use that as my area, whoops, use that as my area to make a pin constraint. All right, so if we come here, go down to constraints there and go to pin, use bounds, excuse me, and then bounding volume. Okay, and then if we visualize the pins, there we go. You can see, so that volume is selecting this area now, or this area around the edge, and we have control over how thick that is with this parameter. So if I make this bigger, if I set it to 10, go back here, you can see that's bigger now, but I'm going to go back to that 5 I had earlier. Okay, so it doesn't matter that we're not grabbing all of them. It shouldn't matter anyway, we'll see. Okay, so that this is basically making constraints, the way that these pins work. So we're going to be generating constraints now. You can see that. Okay, so that they just look like points, but in fact they are there are polygons there, and they have all of these attributes on them. Okay, you can see the constraint name there is pin. They've got a load of attributes. But the idea of a pin constraint is to basically hold something, to pin it down, stop it moving, right? But I don't want to do that. I do want it to move. You can see this is another important aspect of how they work. So each polyline will have a name attribute, and one of the name attributes is empty. So that means it doesn't move, right? So it's pinned to itself, essentially, right? So you know, if you want to make these procedurally in another way without this, then that's what you do. You just make a constraint, and then on one side of the polyline you have the name attribute of the piece, and on the other you have an empty string. So yeah, I want to kind of overwrite this. So I'm going to drop a few delete nodes. So group deletes first, because I want to get rid of, actually I don't think I need that there. Yeah, on this side we need an attribute delete. Okay, so I want to get rid of all those kind of pin constraint attributes, because I'm not going to be using this as a pin constraint. Don't know why it's not coming up there. Oh, well, we could just type it in. I know that what I need to delete is this pin. And I think that's it. And then basically if I do another RBD constraint properties here, just like that, Okay, let's just plug that, connect that up properly. So this will be iterating over the only constraints, which are those pin constraints that we made. And I want to set these to soft. Okay. The stiffness will be 20 and dampening 20, so that allows them to stretch out a bit. Actually, give myself some space here. So that will override, this will override some of the attributes, but some of the others, so will not. So let's drop a group delete here. And you see that pin constraints, we don't want them anything called pin basically. Okay, drop another attribute delete. Let's just get rid of everything here. We got constraint name. So we'll be making them in a minute. So I don't know if it's really necessary, but I just want to kind of clean them up basically. No, sorry. These are what, yeah, we want to keep these, right? So I want to keep the name. We want the constraint name. I want the, do this after here. Yeah, do this after, no, sorry. Do this before. All right, and let's delete non-selected. Okay, so that should work. Let's try that. And then plug in our constraints, obviously. Let's just double. So these bits at the edge here, they should kind of float, right? Maybe we can adjust that delete so we're just grabbing them. Okay, just double check that we've got some of the pinned pieces. There we go, so these red ones here. And one thing we want to do actually is in the constraints and breaking threshold, turn this off because we don't want those soft constraints breaking. Oh, and actually one more thing. We need to just dive into here and give our constraints a length, right? So they need a rest length. At the moment, the rest length is 0 because they don't go anywhere, but we need to make that longer so that will allow them to stretch. So f at rest length is, and I found that 0.1 basically. So how much can they stretch? And make sure this is on the primitives. Okay, so let's have a go at that. So we should see some of the pieces fall and the others just kind of float around. Let me turn that off. Not float around, but just kind of bounce where they are. All right. There we go. So as you can see there, just on the first few frames, you get a bit of a a sag. It's kind of hard to see here because we're just looking at the proxy geometry, but you know that will open up the little cracks and everything, and in the render it will look good. You can see this part moving a bit more there, so that's fine. We'll move on to the active attributes, I think, next.